Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you to those of you that are live with us and to those of you that are watching the recording today. We are so excited to be bringing you this presentation. Some of you saw Mel Mason when I brought her to a Selling on the Spot event last year. And because so many of you loved the presentation and wanted more and are still working with clutter, so those of you that are new in our community, we wanted to make sure that we brought you another powerful event. So thank you for joining us. Please have yourselves on gallery view and have the chat open. Please tell us in the chat where you are located in the world so that Mel knows and so that you can each get to know each other better if you don't already. So what city, what state or province, and what country. I liked teasing Mel earlier when I was describing where New Brunswick is. I said it's east of Maine. That's how I describe it to my American friends.
In my jaw drop, I'm like, where's that? Well, I thought that was the ocean. What are you doing in the ocean?
Yeah, exactly.
Brantford, Ontario, Canada, Dr. Stacy. Oh, Dr. Stacy, so good to see you, my love. And how do you say
Moncton.
Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada.
Darlene's my neighbor.
You can't hear us. So
a few kilometers away.
So if you can't hear us, you might need to come back out and come back in. There's something going on with your audio because everybody else in the room can hear us, right? Everybody's hearing us.
Yep. I think so.
Good. Oh, good. Marguerite got the link. Good. Good to see you, Marguerite. Awesome. Yes, awesome. Marguerite made it. All right.
Welcome. And if you can be on camera, we appreciate it. It is not necessary, but we love to get to know you all and build relationships. So if you can be, we would appreciate that. Please know that we'll have the chat open so that if you have questions, you can go ahead and put it into the chat. But Mel certainly knows how to present and certainly has it in today's presentation to allow you loads of time for Q&A. So
yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, perfect. Just reading my messages here, my private messages here. So with that, Mel, if you're good, then I'm going to get started in my PowerPoint. And then I'll pass it over to you. Awesome. Thank you. All right, so let's get started. I know I'm excited about learning from Mel's presentation again today. So this, of course, is part of Selling on the Spot Mindset, one of the many divisions under the Selling on the Spot brand. My name is Jane Warr, also known as Trainer Jane, and I've been known for many years under the brands of both Trainer Jane and Selling on the Spot. Selling on the Spot Marketplace is what started it all. But again, we're not at a marketplace event. We are at a powerful training under the Mindset division today. I am proudly the founder and CEO of Selling on the Spot, as well as a communications and sales trainer, international stage speaker, and 5-time international best-selling author. So briefly, to let you know about the divisions under our brand, we have, of course, the Selling on the Spot Marketplace, thriving, fun business events that started us all 6 years ago, as well as a division called Selling on the Spot Masterclass, where I train you how to improve your visual, verbal, and vocal presentations, especially to get better results in the marketplace, as well as a marketing division where I partner with experts in their fields, whether Facebook, LinkedIn, or otherwise. The Mastery division, which is our 3-tiered sales training series. Media training, which is my powerful partnership with the Forbes Riley on how, in the way she would say it, pitch yourself on camera. The Selling on the Spot Academy, which is where we house all of our past recordings. So please know if you want Mel's training from last year, it's in the Academy, as well as all of the other trainings that we've done there. Selling on the Spot Systems is our 12-month roadmap for those of you that are ready to scale your business and know that you need systems and a plan to follow. Selling on the Spot Money brings you powerful financial training. Selling on the Spot Mindset, of course, this is part of today's presentation, helping you with personal and professional challenges that stem from mindset and your beliefs, as well as Selling on the Spot resources, where we have everything else for you. And again, please be checking out our website, sellingonthespotmarketplace.com, because we have many things on the website for you, including free resources and other things on the resources and full website. So with that, then I would like to give you all an opportunity in a moment to introduce yourselves, and then I will be introducing Mel. Again, our presentation today is called The Truth About Clutter. I'm looking forward to what you all learn and I learn, and how we move forward with Mel to declutter our lives. And in a moment, I'll stop sharing my screen and ask you all to introduce yourselves. This is meant to be one sentence only, just a tiny introduction for us to all know clearly and concisely what you do. So please follow our format if you are new with us. Just a quick fill in the blank. Who are the people that you help, with what pain or what gain, and what is your solution? Maybe even naming your product or program. So I, for example, would say I help entrepreneurs and business owners grow their business exponentially by inviting them to fun and profitable events called Selling on the Spot Marketplace. So with that, it is now your turn for each of you to introduce yourselves. Dr. Stacy, I'm going to go to you first. Everybody, please unmute.
Hello, thank you, Jane. Good to see you again, Mel. Love this community, so much to learn. I'm Dr. Stacy, and I help people who are ready to create better health so that they can evolve the wealth that they desire, because without your health, there is nothing. Through my easy 10 steps that you can do in just 10 minutes at a time, my 10 down guide.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Stacy. And Darlene, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Darlene Smith, and I help realtors and agents put more of their commission in their pockets and also create passive income, certainly by educating them about the online iCloud-only brokerage EXP. And I do that through my referral and team building program.
Love that. Thank you. And Sue?
I'm Sue Coleman. I'm a brand partner with Neora, and I help you look, live, and feel better with plant-based plant-based products for your face, body, mind, hair, and weight management. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Marguerite?
Hi, I help people move up in their careers by developing their leadership and communication skills. And I've got a book up on Kindle just recently. I don't know if you can see it in the back, Land That Job. So it's a short, sharp course in job interviewing at any level, but specifically for executives. So that's where I'm at.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for being here. Thank you also to those of you watching the recording. And I look forward to hearing everybody's feedback on today's powerful presentation. So with that, for those of you, whether you know Mel or not, I love the fact that she goes by the term the clutter expert versus the decluttering expert. I think she'll tell you a little bit about that. And I was excited to meet her last year. I was thrilled to go through a program of hers where I chose to then declutter some of my home, certainly purge things so that I can move across the country to where I am now. Dealt with the paper, which was one of my biggest issues, my paper clutter. And so I was excited to go through her program and get amazing results. I'm now ready to tackle the email. That was the one thing I haven't really worked on yet. So with that, Mel, you are the guru that I go to for clutter. So please introduce yourself more to everybody, and I pass it over to you.
Yeah, be happy to. But first and foremost, Jane, just want to thank you for hosting and putting this event together. I love doing these joint ventures with you. And for those of you that don't know Jane, I actually met Jane through Forbes Riley, my work with Forbes Riley. And Forbes Riley is actually how I transitioned from the declutter expert to the clutter expert, working on, she is the queen of pitch and the $2.5 billion host. If you ever watched the Jack LaLanne juicer infomercial, it was her doing the infomercial, and I studied with her for 6 months back in 2020. And she was watching the room as I would introduce what I was doing when I was saying the declutter expert. And what we found out was that when people hear the word declutter, they automatically think I'm going to make them get rid of their stuff. So they're like, no, go away. I don't want to hear from you. So she helped me transition and shifting from the declutter expert to the clutter expert. And through that whole process of working with Forbes, I was able to meet Jane. And if you are new to Jane's world, and if you're in business, which all of you are, I'm sure you've walked into networking meetings where you give your 30-second spiel and you hope that someone is going to come up and talk to you and maybe take your offer. But what Jane offers is something so unique and so valuable. These selling on the spot marketplaces, you come in and you actually get to give an offer, and everybody that's in the room is expecting everybody to have an offer. And so if there's something that resonates with you, you take action on that offer then. So you literally make sales in the room immediately, which is absolutely, I've never seen that in any networking event. And so the events that she puts on is absolutely phenomenal. So if you're new to Jane, I highly recommend, I think you're all on her mailing list now that you signed up for this. So she'll notify you when she puts her marketplaces on. I highly recommend you attend. I've made business immediately just by attending her events, and that connection is what brought us together in doing this JV work. So kudos to you, Jane. I love what you do. I love what you offer. And I love watching you take your company and keep growing it. I think it was like 3 pillars when I met you, and now it's like 10 divisions. It's just like so amazing to watch you.
And more to come. Yes, thank you so
Yeah.
much for that, Mel.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But before I really dive into who I am, what I always like to do is I like to test the waters and get a feel for the room and find out what is it that made you actually say yes to signing up for this workshop today, taking 2 hours out of your day to come here and learn about the truth about clutter. So we're a small group, just unmute yourself. What are you hoping to get out of today? What do you want to get out of today? Why did you say yes to showing up and sitting here with Jane and I for the next couple hours?
It was,
Yep.
it was on Selling on the Spot today that Jane mentioned this opportunity. And I also received a notification from Google that I'm at 75% of my email space is full. So yes, collectively, I do have a number of email addresses, but in just one, I have over 9,500 unopened messages. And that is the lists, right? That's my kind of junk email. Whenever I subscribe to something, that's the email that I use. And obviously I don't need all that stuff because I'm never even opening it.
Love it.
Timing is everything. I love that you shared that, Stacey. Thanks.
That's awesome. Sue, I see you're unmuted. Go ahead and share with me and everybody what you're hoping to get out of today.
Just to understand why I have so much clutter. I mean, I do the purging when we move and that kind of thing, but then it just crawls back. And when Jane was saying about emails and brain and stuff, I'm thinking, yeah, there's lots of space needs to be made up here. Get rid of the clutter along with my email. Yeah. Definitely.
Love it. Love it. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for sharing. Miss Marguerite, you're unmuted. What are you hoping to get out of today, love?
So really following up on what Stacey and Sue said, it's the philosophical aspect of it, like I actually just listened to you a couple of times, Mel, and I don't know, it really inspired me. I did a whole house clean, like the great clear out in January, February. And I just, it's the creep back, and it's the how come it's here, and how do you sort of get it under control, like permanently?
Yeah.
I just find I'm spending so much time tidying up, and I'm on top of it, but I'm not, like I can feel it encroaching, especially in office, it's like deadly.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here.
I'm so glad you're here. I appreciate you sharing. Miss Darlene, would you love to share what you're hoping to get out of today?
Yes, I would. I got 2 things going on there for sugar's sake. Yes. So clutter is always something that it's ongoing, and I'm always interested in tips, and you get a lot of emails going on, and if there's always something when you do, I'm a lifelong learner, love knowledge, and there's always something that you can put into effect to make things easier, save time, and more efficient.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you're here. Highly recommend you listen to one or the other. You can't literally actually multitask. So you can't be listening to something else and me at the same time and getting what you want out of it. So highly recommend you declutter one of the things you're listening to right
The,
now.
the other one started 15 minutes late, was supposed to end at 2. So you've got my attention now. They were signing off.
All right. Well, I'm glad I have all of your attention. So before I dive in today, like, why the heck should you listen to me? How did I get this name, the Clutter Expert? For those of you that don't know me, I didn't get the name by accident. I was the cluttered, messy kid. You could not walk in my room. Oh, hold on. Let me go to gallery so I can see you. You should just spotlighted me. I was the cluttered, messy kid. You could not walk in my room. My entire floor was covered. And I never wanted to clean up my room. If I ever did it, I just shoved everything under the bed and in the closet. I didn't deal with it. But every once in a while, my mom would get pissed off enough that she would clean it. But what would inevitably happen? You guys kind of mentioned it a little bit. You've organized in the past, but it would just come back. Now, I also want to say that it wasn't just stuff that was all over my floor. Like, I had trash all over the place too. Like, I was fine living in filth. I honestly, at that point in my life already, didn't give a rat's ass about being on the planet. I pretty much wanted to die. And I didn't realize at the time that the outside is only a mirror of the inside, because at that point in my life already, before the age of 15, I was already littered with clutter on the inside. And what is that clutter that I call the internal clutter? It's repressed emotions from trauma, from loss. And you don't have to have a big hairy trauma like sexual abuse or anything like that. Just coming out of the birth canal is traumatic enough. Losing a friend in childhood who moves away is traumatic. Losing a family member, that's all traumatic. So you don't need to have a big hairy trauma to have repressed emotions. There's then resentments, there's fears, and there's all those limiting beliefs that we accumulate from our parents and our environment that don't have instruction manuals on how to raise us. So we get all their limiting beliefs. And up until the age of 8, we believe everything that we're told as truth. So whatever we're told, money doesn't grow on trees, children should be seen and not heard, and all those stories that we hear, we like take as fact and we believe them. So they become this limiting programming, our operating system. So we have these limiting beliefs, and then we get all these judgments and all the fears that accumulate. And I was pretty littered with clutter on the inside because already at that point in my life, I had a pretty traumatic upbringing. My parents separated when I was 4 years old. And as a kid, you take on that responsibility. It's my fault. My parents separated. What could I do about it? So you automatically take that on. And at the age of 8 years old, I experienced 3 different sexual traumas from 3 different perpetrators. And by the age of 15 years old, my older brother, who was about 5 years older than me, he committed suicide. And I happened to be living with him at the time. So I was the one who found him. And in the same moment of discovering his body, his suicide note left every single one of his belongings to me, a 15-year-old. So at 15 years old, I had to go back into his apartment and I had to go through everything that he had and decide what I was going to keep and what other people could have. So if you've had to go through, you know, a loved one's stuff after they've passed, I feel you. I've been there. I totally get it. And what happened is I was already, as you heard, like, I didn't care about living or dying. That's why I didn't care about creating order in my life. I wasn't worried about getting organized because I didn't even want to be here anymore. I actually had a therapist tell me that I had pretty much been depressed since I was like 4 or 5 years old. So I honestly just thought it was my birthright to be depressed, suicidal, and surrounded by clutter for my entire life. That's just pretty much what I thought my life was going to be like. And after my brother committed suicide, I just went on a further downward spiral, and nobody expected me to make it to my 18th birthday alive. I actually got kicked out of my sophomore year of high school a month after my brother died because I was considered a danger to myself and others. And they said, you can't come back to this school until you get intensive therapy. And what that looked like for an adolescent being 15 years old was I got shipped off to be institutionalized. I lived in a residential treatment center for adolescents for the next 1.5 years of my life. But while I was living there, my life, unbeknownst to me, would radically change. I was introduced to yoga and mindfulness while I was living in this residential treatment center. And I was a sponge at that point. Like I was a seeker. I was looking for answers. And so I soaked it all up and I just started practicing regularly. And it became, and ultimately what yoga and mindfulness taught me was how to come home and be present for all of that inner clutter that had been accumulating in my life. And what started to happen as a result of being willing to stop running from the inner clutter, the repressed emotions, the resentments, the fears, the limiting beliefs, and the judgments, was that kid who was fine living in filth, who had no desire to get organized, spontaneously, without effort, without forcing myself, started to create order in my environment. I wasn't like calling an organizer and saying, oh, I need some help getting organized. Oh, you should work on it for 15 minutes a day, 3 times a week, and blah, 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 blah. It literally happened from the inside out. I started to spontaneously need to have order in my environment. And within a year's time, I went from that cluttered mess to someone who could no longer tolerate disorder. I had to have everything in its place. But here's one little caveat. I did not let go of all of my attachments then. I still had my stuff, but it had to have order. Everything had to have a place. It had to be organized. And I went from someone who was fine living in chaos to actually someone who loves creating order out of chaos. And the letting go of my attachments, that happened over years and years of looking at my stuff. But the internal shift happened first, that need to have order. And what I realized is that the outside is only a mirror of the inside. And all of that clutter that I had outside was just reflecting back to me the clutter that I had going on inside. And as I became willing to be present for all of that inner clutter is where the shift started to happen. So the outside is only a mirror of the inside. And that's one of the most important things that I want you to get out of today's workshop, because a lot of you are talking about the clutter comes back. I organize and the clutter comes back. The clutter did not come back for me. The secret is not putting a Band-Aid on the problem and focusing on the outside, but addressing the internal clutter that's actually the root cause. Because the outside is just a symptom. We as humans, we're actually not able to see ourselves. That's why when you always hear like you're pointing the finger at somebody else and blaming them for something, you got 4 fingers pointing back at yourself. You can't see it in someone else if it's not already in you. We need the outside to reflect back to us ourselves. And so we get these external manifestations in our lives that are like these big red flag indicators that say, oh, something's going on here. Stop. It's time to pay attention. But when people hear the word clutter, they automatically assume physical stuff showing up in your environment. Now, what I want to share with you is that's just one of the many external manifestations that clutter takes. And my definition of clutter is actually anything that keeps you from accessing your birthright. Because if you don't know this already, it is your birthright to thrive in every area of your life. Have healthy, loving relationships, have more money than you can spend, have more time than you know what to do with, have the energy and the vitality to do the things that you love. It's absolutely your birthright to have all of these things. And the outside is only a mirror of the inside. And so how else it shows up in your life, this internal clutter, maybe you don't just have the physical clutter, because I had lots of these. All of these examples I'm going to share with you, I had almost all of them. You may be carrying excess weight on your body. That's another manifestation of clutter. You may have a schedule that's too busy. You don't have enough time. If that's a story you keep telling yourself, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough time. That's another external manifestation of the same internal condition. Maybe you keep surrounding yourself with people that are unhealthy and toxic relationships. That's an external manifestation of clutter. I was in a toxic marriage for almost 12 years. To the weight, I was almost 170 pounds while I was in that toxic marriage. Maybe you have a lack mindset and mounting debt and the lack of flow of financial abundance in your life. Maybe the money's not flowing in. That's a manifestation of clutter. Maybe you're struggling with addictions, whether it be to drugs, alcohol, food, sex, gambling. Maybe you have the need to put Botox into your body and alter the way that you look because you're not comfortable in your own skin. All of these things are different ways that the internal clutter manifests. So I was blessed to have almost all of them. I just didn't have the need to shoot up Botox in my body, but I was a crystal meth addict, crack cocaine addict. I was homeless on the streets, almost 170 pounds. You heard about what my room looked like, and was in the toxic relationship, had the mounting debt, the lack of financial abundance. I mean, I pretty much had it all. And in learning how to be present for that inner clutter in my life, the root cause of it all, gradually every area of my life got better. Now, it wasn't an overnight feat. It's not an overnight thing because the clutter doesn't accumulate overnight, right? So there was no magic wand that waved the clutter, the weight, the toxic relationships, the debt, any of it there. And so there's no magic wand that's going to wave it all away, right? And so it started from the inside out, and gradually every area of my life started to get better. So for me, the need to have order happen first. For some of my clients, they start releasing weight and feeling happier before they ever spontaneously start clearing any of the clutter. But what I want you to really get about this whole outside is a mirror of the inside. First, let me share the principle in operation. You know, just like the law of gravity, we all know the law of gravity, right? We can't argue with it. We may not like it, but if I throw up this pen, it's going to fall, right? It's gone, falls. Well, there's another law in operation in the universe called the principle of correspondence. And it states, as above, so below, or in other words, as within, so without. So it's literally a law in operation in the universe. You cannot argue with it. You cannot dispute it. So what that means is when you actually start to make the space inside of yourself by being willing to show up for that inner clutter, that space starts to manifest outside, and it's going to show up in different areas of your life. So for me, the need to have order happen first, then I got off the drugs, got out of the toxic relationship, let go of the weight once I shed the toxic relationship, got out of all the debt, and started manifesting the flow of financial abundance in my life. But it's not going to be cookie cutter. It's not the same for everybody. So your path is going to be unique. Your path is going to be your own. But the other piece that I really want you to understand is that all clutter in any form accumulates for one reason: unwillingness to look at it. Like, let's just be blunt, not willing to look at it, okay? Not willing to deal with it. And because the outside is a mirror of the inside, all that's simply saying is you're unwilling to look within. It's so super simple, yet so profound. You don't need to hire someone to help you organize your stuff. You don't need to do any of that. You need to stop running from yourself. You're literally like, the clutter accumulates because you're like, nope, don't want to see you. Nope, don't want to see you. I'm not going to look at you. And all you're saying is, no, I don't want to see me. No, I don't want to see me. I'm not willing to sit and be present with myself. Now, it's actually so scary for us to sit and be still with ourselves that we've been avoiding ourselves our entire life. And I talk about this experiment in a book that I wrote, Freedom from Clutter, where all the participants, they were asked first before they started the experiment, would you be willing to be paid to receive an electric shock? And every single one of the participants was like, no, I'm not willing to be paid to receive an electric shock. So then they were led one by one into a room with a table and a chair, no window, nothing to do, just the door to come and go, no phone to play with. They could sit and twiddle their thumbs. They could meditate. They could do push-ups. They could talk to themselves. They could do whatever, or they could give themselves an electric shock. Over 50% of men chose to shock themselves over and over again. And over 20% of women chose to do the same, rather than being willing to just sit still and be present for their own experience. So this is not for the faint of heart. If you were willing to be present for your own experience, you wouldn't have the clutter accumulating, you wouldn't have the excess weight accumulating, you wouldn't be in the toxic relationships, you wouldn't be too busy, your email wouldn't be overflowing, you wouldn't be avoiding you. Okay, so all the clutter accumulates because your unwillingness to actually be present with yourself. Okay, so how do you actually bring your presence to your life so that you can clear the clutter in every area? I teach a simple practice for those of you that have been in my community for a while that know me. I call it allowing the now. And it's so super simple because all you've been doing all your life is like, no, I don't want to see you. So no, I don't want to see me. So this practice is literally saying, yes, I see me. Yes, I'm willing to see me. I'm willing to see me. And it's not meditation. You don't have to quiet your mind. You don't have to focus on a mantra. You don't have to focus on your breathing. You don't have to focus on a candle flame. The great part about this is you actually can't do it wrong unless you just don't do it. Okay. And that's what I love about this practice is it simply requires just your willingness to stop what you're doing and to close your eyes and be willing to just be present for your experience. Your mind can be wandering all over the place. You can be worrying about whatever, but it's simply in your willingness to stop and turn your attention within that literally starts to make space on the inside. It's like the proverbial drop in a bucket. Every time you're willing to stop running from yourself and saying, no, I don't want to see you, to like, yes, I see you. You're literally making these drops in the bucket. And over time, enough drops accumulate that you start to see the manifestation start happening outside of you. Maybe there's a mess that you have left undone in your house for weeks that you spontaneously start clearing up. Maybe there's someone you've been hanging out with that isn't so healthy and you just stop reaching out to them. Maybe you spontaneously clear that junk drawer. Maybe you just become more aware of your avoidance behaviors and how you avoid things that are uncomfortable in your life. But little by little, these micro shifts will start to happen and they'll start to add up. And so simply allowing the now, I love to liken it. Do you know the game Whack-A-Mole where it's like at the arcade, the mole pops up and you got this mallet and you got to like bat it off the head, right? I'm not for hurting animals on the head, but I love this idea of Whack-A-Mole for anybody that says they have ADD or ADHD and they can't focus and they can't quiet their mind. ATN is the perfect practice for you, allowing the now. I call it ATN because you actually get to let your mind be like Whack-A-Mole. Your job is to let your attention go to whatever's calling it in the moment, because what are we doing? Allowing the now. So what's happening right now in the moment that wants your attention? And so there's different areas that we pay attention to, about 6 different things. And first you have the thoughts that you think. You have bodily sensations that you feel, could be tingling sensations, shooting pains, aches, heat, cold sensation. Then you have emotions that you feel. Then there's sounds that you hear, there's smells that you smell, and then some people start seeing colors and things behind their eyes when their eyes are closed. So you're literally just allowing your attention to go to whatever's popping up in the moment. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. Like you literally can just sit there and be aware of what's happening, or you can be like a sports reporter, like calling out the plays on the field on the radio. Say your mind is thinking or you're worrying and you literally just go, oh, worrying. If you notice a tingling sensation, oh, there's a tingling sensation in my left leg. Or you notice an emotion, oh, there's some sadness or there's some anger. One little caveat with emotions is you don't want to label and say, I am sad or I am angry, because you don't want to label yourself anything because it implies permanence. You're not your emotions. Emotions are energy in motion. So you want to keep them moving. So you just acknowledge that they're there. Oh, there's some sadness. There's some anger. whatever it is, just acknowledging what's showing up. Maybe a plane's going overhead and you hear the sound of the plane. It's literally allowing the moment to be exactly as it is without any need to change it or any need to fix it, because nothing's broken, nothing needs to be fixed. You just need to learn how to be present for your experience exactly as it is. So when you think about GPS, right? GPS doesn't need to know your past. It doesn't need to know what the hell you've been doing all your life. It just needs to know where you're standing right now and where you want to go. And so this is about learning how to meet yourself right where you are in the moment, accepting what is so that you can move forward. Instead of beating yourself up and dragging the past into the present, it's just allowing the moment to be exactly as it is. So that's what allowing the now is meeting yourself where you are and allowing it to be exactly as it is. So it's not meditation. You don't have to quiet your mind down. You literally can't do it wrong unless you just don't do it. So there's no wrong way to do it. Your mind, you could be lost in the story for the whole time and not be getting it wrong, because all that's really required is just your willingness to be still with yourself, your willingness to stop saying, no, I don't want to see you, to being, yes, I see me. Yes, I see me. Okay. So how does this actually work in creating the space in your life? Well, when you think about math, right, we know that a positive and a negative cancel each other out, right? So we have a positive and a negative cancels each other out. So when you think about the internal clutter that's accumulated in your life, it carries a lower frequency vibration. So it's technically, we could call it a negative charge. It's not good or bad. It just has a negative charge to it, right? And then you have this allowing practice, which is the positive charge. So when you bring a positive and a negative together, it literally cancels each other out and you start making space. But ultimately what you're really doing, because everything in science has already been proven that everything is energy and everything is vibrating and everything has a frequency, is that right now you're a vibrational match to the level of clutter you have in your life. The email overflowing, the excess weight, the piles, whatever it is. But every time you do this practice and you start allowing the moment and start clearing those lower frequency vibrations, you start to raise your vibration. And little by little, your vibration raises. And eventually what happens is the gap gets big enough that you spontaneously start to take action. And it happens spontaneously and unconsciously without planning. So for those of you that have attempted to get organized in the past, and it's like, oh my God, I got to go do this. I got to clean out the closet. I got to clean out my garage. And there's all this dread and this heavy energy. That it doesn't have to be like that. It actually gets to be fun when it comes from the inside out, rather than you forcing yourself and dragging yourself to do it. My clients report that they actually have fun. And I think Jane can attest to this. By doing it, it wasn't this dreadful experience. It wasn't horrible because she had a system and she was creating space from the inside out. So there's not all this dragging effort involved in this forcing. It's literally happening naturally without you saying, oh my God, I need to spend 15 minutes a day and work on my this and that. It's literally, I didn't plan any of that. I literally just started making space, and I just inside of myself and went from that cluttered mess to someone who could no longer tolerate it. I wasn't coming to workshops, looking for help, hiring organizers. It just happened spontaneously. And that's why I'm so passionate about this one piece. This, if you get nothing else out of today's workshop, this one piece, allowing the now, is the keys to the kingdom. This is the secret sauce. When I do this practice consistently in my life, every area of my life gets better. When I don't do this practice consistently in my life, every area starts to falter. So I've done it, I've stopped doing it, and I've done it, and I've stopped doing it, and I've watched the results. And this is the key. Like when I stopped doing it for a while, I got into a relationship that was unhealthy. And I attracted somebody into my life due to some of my limiting programming, some of the limiting beliefs that I was brought up with, that, you know, I'm too much, children should be seen and not heard, and I was too powerful. And so I attracted someone that basically thought I was too loud and too powerful, that I needed to dim my light. And because of my fear of abandonment, I was willing to shut my light down for someone else. And for the first 6 years of my marriage, I dimmed my light. I stopped doing this practice. I stopped having any spiritual connection in my life whatsoever. I stopped taking care of myself in any way and just devoted myself to taking care of her. And after 6 years, in 2013, I was ready to commit suicide again. I had gotten to the point where I was just like, I am done. I don't want to be on this planet anymore. And I'm either going to end my life right now and be done with it and come back in another body and just start all over again, or I'm going to do whatever it takes to experience my birthright, which is to thrive in every area of my life. And what did I do? I obviously stayed. So I chose the latter, which was to start putting myself first. And all I did, the only change I made, was I started taking 5 minutes, like how many of you guys have an extra 5 minutes in a day? Like 5 minutes a day is all I started with. And within 6 months, I did not recognize my life. Within 6 months, so much had changed. I had always wanted to be my own boss. And I had a job that I loved. I just didn't love my boss, loved what I did, but I always knew that I was going to be my own boss and that somehow my experience was going to help others. Didn't know what that was going to look like, but I got to take the first step out of working for somebody else and become an independent contractor. It was kind of like my first organizing job. These 2 women hired me to be their assistant and literally help them organize their stuff. And I was leaving a really good job. So I got a contract for a year because I had really great benefits where I worked. I was actually in line to take the company over. He wanted to leave it to me in his will if anything ever happened to him. So like I was really secure. I didn't have to go anywhere, but I wanted to be out on my own. And so I took the leap. I got this contract for a year to work for these 2 women as their personal assistant. And within 2 weeks of working for them, they're like, the timing's not right. We have to do all this traveling. So we're just going to pay you the balance of your contract. And what that looked like was receiving a $50,000 check in the mail for the balance of my contract. And I only worked for 2 weeks. And then they said, oh, by the way, the MacBook Pro we just bought you to do your job, you can keep that too. So within 6 months of doing this practice, I was able to step out on my own, then receive this $50,000 check. And then from that $50,000 check, I decided to take the next 6 months off to figure out what the heck I was going to do with my life. And it was in creating that space in my life to figure out what I wanted to do that one day I was watching the show Hoarders for the very first time. Who's seen the show Hoarders? You ever seen the show Hoarders? Okay, so it was the first time I ever saw it. And my background at that point was I had studied energy healing, Reiki, martial arts, yoga, all these different things were my journey. And I was standing there watching this show, and I love creating order out of chaos. So I was watching this show and I was absolutely horrified because the show comes in and they make you decide about all of your stuff in like a 4-day period. And what they don't realize is that all of that stuff that's been accumulating, it's like your Great Wall of China, like it's your defense system. And you can't just come in and tear it all down on someone without leaving them raw and exposed and literally re-traumatizing them all over again. And so in that moment, it sparked the idea for me to create a company that helped people not get that way in the first place, but also help them keep the clutter from coming back. Because after the show left, what inevitably would happen is the clutter would come back. And nothing would change, except that they were more traumatized and they were worse off than when they started. And so that's where I got the idea for my business, Decluttering Spaces. And I launched in 2014. And that all came from taking 5 minutes for myself a day, doing the allowing the now practice. Now, it took another 6 years for me to unenmesh myself from that unhealthy relationship and get out of that toxic marriage. But once I did that, my life skyrocketed. It was in 2019 that I left my ex. I committed to getting my 20-year-old body back because I was almost 170 pounds. I'm now about 115. And I committed to changing my life, and my life just skyrocketed. Life comes full circle, and I got offered a position to be an assistant organizer on an episode of Hoarders. And I almost didn't take the job because I was so against the show, but I couldn't pass up saying I was on the show Hoarders and then getting to see the back end of what they really do. So I was on an episode of Hoarders, and then I met Forbes Riley in July of 2020, contributed to a book that she was doing, the #1 for entrepreneurial success, or something like One Habit for Entrepreneurial Success. It became an international bestseller. So I became an international best-selling author. She told me to write my own book, was not in my plan. I wrote a book in 7 weeks, got it published. Then I was offered a digital TV show. And I mean, the list just goes on and on. Now I'm in a book series based on the Think and Grow Rich principles, the 13 Steps to Riches. And I'm now a 7-time best-selling author. And by January of next year, I will be a 15-time best-selling author. And life just keeps getting better and better. And that's all from this one practice. Just doing this simple allowing the now practice is what creates the space for the magic to happen. That's what I call it. You're literally making space for magic to happen in your life. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. When I stopped doing it, after 6 years, I wanted to die. When I started doing it again, my whole life got better. And now I've been consistently doing it so that I keep getting the results. And to be honest, because I can't keep up with my life anymore. Now I'm doing rock climbing. I swore I would never run. I'm training for a marathon. I'm running the Kauai Marathon in September. Swore I would never run. I just ran 8 miles on Saturday. Never thought I could run a mile. Never mind. I mean, Sunday. Never thought I could run a mile. Now I'm running 8. I get to run 9 on this Sunday. And each week it keeps going up. So like life just keeps getting better and better from this one practice. And then I get to do these workshops and I get to share my message with people in my community and new people and watch people's lives get transformed. Like that's the best part about what I get to do is I know that it works for me, but when you put it into practice in your life and you start getting the results, I get the benefit of seeing the results that happen in your life. And I love watching how it happens differently in each and everybody's life because it never unfolds the same. It's never going to unfold the same for you as it does for Jane, as it does for Darlene or Marguerite or Sue or Stacy. Like each one of your paths are going to be unique to you. And that's why it's also so important not to compare yourself to others. Your journey is your own. It's learning to meet yourself right where you are and accepting where you are and watching what starts to unfold for you. So it works by raising your vibration literally, and it starts to create the space inside of yourself, and then it translates to every area of your life. That's why I love, my whole mission is to empower people around the world to get free from clutter inside and out so they can thrive in every area of your life, because that's your birthright. And clutter is anything that gets in the way of it. It's not just the physical stuff that shows up. You have all these external manifestations, but the truth of the matter is there's just interference, and that birthright, that ability to thrive in every area of your life, it's not outside of you. Okay. It literally exists inside of you, like the seed in a fruit. And what happens is all of that inner clutter gets in the way and it clouds your ability to access it, but it's already in you. I mean, the power that created order out of the Big Bang, I don't care what you call it, but that power that created order out of the Big Bang exists within you. It's not something you pray to outside of yourself and hope that it bestows you with this abundance. It's already your birthright. It already exists within you, just like the seed in a fruit. And so removing the interference allows that abundance in you to already start drawing what is your birthright to you, because what you focus on is what you get. And when you remove the interference, you can't stop the flow of abundance from coming. You really can't. Like, you'll just watch. I literally had somebody do this practice for 2 days. They walked to the mailbox and found a $1,000 check in the mail. It just, you start opening up the flow of financial abundance. You start letting go of toxic relationships. All this amazing stuff happens. So allowing the now is the keys to the kingdom. Like, the truth of the matter is that all clutter accumulates because of your unwillingness to look at it. The requirement to get free from clutter in every area of your life is your presence. Your presence is required. And the way that you do that is through the practice of allowing the now. So you've heard me talk about allowing the now. How many would like to have an experience of allowing the now so you can take that home with you? You guys want to do that together? All right. So Sue, if you're now driving, because I see you off camera, my disclaimer for you and anybody listening to the recording, if you're driving, listening to this, please do not close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open and do this practice. You can actually do this practice brushing your teeth, taking a shower, walking the dog, petting the dog. If you're breastfeeding, you can do it while you're breastfeeding your babies. I have a client who has twins, and the only time she can do it is when she's breastfeeding. It's all about being present for your experience, meeting yourself where you are in the moment. Again, there's no wrong way to do this. It's literally, just being willing to stop saying, no, I don't want to see you, to yes, I see you, to whatever's showing up. All right. So for those of you here with me and on the recording, there's no wrong way to sit. I highly recommend, just for me, I like to have my feet flat on the floor. I like to be grounded. I like to have an open posture, so I don't have my legs crossed or my arms crossed. I just like to be open and in the flow, but there is no wrong way. If you want to close your eye, cross your arms, cross your legs, whatever works for you, you cannot do this wrong. It's just, if you're not willing to do that, do it. That's the only way you do it wrong. Okay. So go ahead, and we're just going to start by closing our eyes. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, and if you don't want to close your eyes, guess what? You don't have to, because there's no wrong way to do this. Okay. And all you're going to do is just start noticing your breathing. Just start noticing, are you breathing through your nose? Are you breathing through your mouth? Just getting connected to your body, getting connected to the moment, and noticing, what does it feel like to actually be breathing in your body? Maybe it's the first time you've ever paid attention to what it feels like to breathe. Maybe it's the first time you've actually felt your body below your neck. And then just allowing your mind to go to whatever's showing up. Now, remember, I talked about the different areas. You may have thoughts that you're thinking. You may experience physical sensations, like you might be feeling your feet on the floor or your sits bones in the chair. You might be hearing sounds, smelling smells, seeing colors behind your eyes, or feeling emotions in your body. But whatever your experience is, you're just letting your attention be like whack-a-mole, letting it show up and go to whatever's calling your attention in the moment. What wants my attention right now? What's showing up? And like a sports reporter, if this works for you, you can literally just mentally call it out. Oh, thinking or worrying, or, oh, there's a tingling sensation in my right foot. Oh, there's some sadness I'm experiencing. Not I am sad, just sadness is just an emotion. Or maybe you're hearing the dog bark in the neighborhood or the train go by. Or maybe someone's cooking something really yummy and you smell the smells. Whatever your experience is in the moment, you're just allowing your mind to go to whatever's calling your attention. And what you'll notice is the minute that you acknowledge something, it begins to take the power out of it. It begins to create space, and something shifts and your attention goes somewhere else. Just allowing whatever's showing up. Maybe you're thinking, what the hell is this going to do to get rid of my clutter? How is this going to get rid of my clutter? Just acknowledge the thinking, the judging, the worrying, whatever it is. Simply just acknowledge what's showing up. Just letting it be exactly as it is. This is allowing the now. So you're literally allowing the moment to be exactly as it is. You're meeting yourself right where you are. Because when you're in a state of resistance, no, I don't want to see you, what you resist persists. And when you avoid you, you just start manifesting things in your life that show that back to you, like the clutter, the weight, the toxic relationships, the mounting debt. So this is so super simple, yet so profound. You're literally just undoing the way that you've been your entire life. That turning away, turning away, turning away from yourself, you're now simply turning towards. And that's the only requirement to get free from clutter in every area of your life, is to turn toward yourself instead of away. And you don't need to know what that looks like. You don't even need to know anything. You just have to be willing to stop and close your eyes and tune your attention to whatever's showing up. And if your mind is just thinking the whole time, there's nothing wrong. There's plenty of times where I spend my 5 minutes planning my day or thinking about what's on my schedule. And it's like the 5 minutes goes by. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I was just thinking the whole time. But guess what? I still get the results. It doesn't change the results that I get. So you cannot do this wrong unless you just don't do it. It's just your willingness to say, yes, I see me. Yes, I'm willing to see me. Because we can only be in one of two states. We're either in contraction, resisting what's uncomfortable, or desperately clinging to what we want to hang on to, whether it's stuff, relationships, whatever it is, or we can be in a state of allowing. Those are the only two states everything reduces down to. And so this is the secret sauce, just learning how to get into that state of allowing whatever is. And then it starts to spill over and translate into your everyday life. For those of you that struggle with self-judgment and self-beat up, I crashed my truck in October and I found myself judging myself. I was like, oh, that was stupid. But because of this practice, what normally would have happened is I would have continued with the thoughts and I would continue to have beat myself up. But because of this practice, I was able to be like, oh, there I go judging myself again. Isn't that interesting? And in the moment of being able to acknowledge it, it literally took the power out of it. I didn't take out the club with the spikes and start beating myself up some more. I was able to become aware of the fact that I was judging and then make a different choice. And then I was like, oh yeah, it wasn't the most skillful choice I ever made to drive a little too fast on a windy mountain road and test out my new tires, but it doesn't make me stupid. And then I was able to laugh about it and move on with my day and it was done. Whereas before, when I wasn't doing this practice, I would have continued to beat myself up and self-loathing, and it would have been a really messy day, and I would have just been in a really crappy mood for the rest of the day. So this practice is literally going to spill over into your everyday life the more and more you do it. So just meeting yourself right where you are. Maybe you're judging, maybe you're evaluating, maybe you're worrying. Maybe you're experiencing sensations in your body that are uncomfortable. Just acknowledging them and allowing them to be there. No judgment, nothing's wrong, nothing's broken, nothing needs to be fixed. Everything is perfect exactly as it is. Because it is what it is. This is the moment. And this will help you accept where you're at when it comes to the external manifestations of clutter. Maybe you have piles and piles of clutter or lots of excess weight to let go of, or you've been in a toxic relationship. You can't make any changes until you accept what is. If you keep resisting what is, you're just fighting against. And whatever you resist persists. But when you can get into the state of allowing, you create the space for change to happen. You're literally making space for magic to happen. Now go ahead and just take a nice deep breath in and let it out. And one more time, breathe in. And one more time, let it all out. And when you feel complete, go ahead and slowly open your eyes. Everybody's still alive? Look at that, you all survived. Nobody died. Nothing traumatic happened. Look at that, and it was about almost 9 minutes. So if you think you can't do 5, you just did 9 right there. And you'll have this recording. So if you have a hard time doing it in quiet on your own, you can literally just go back to this recording and use the recorded part of it. So that is the allowing the now practice. It's so super simple, yet it's so profound. It's going to make the space in every area of your life. So before we move on, what I'd like to do is just ask if anybody has any questions about anything I've covered so far. No question is off the table. Feel free to ask me anything. We are a small group, so just raise your physical hand because most of you are on camera, and I'll answer any questions before I move on. Any questions so far? Going once, going twice. Jane, you're unmuted. Do you have a question?
I was just expecting some questions. I think everybody's mellow right now. I know I am. Nice
Jane,
and
do you have the
relaxed.
link that I sent you to? Because I didn't
Yes, I
copy and
do.
paste it. Do you have it? Why don't you drop that for a second? For those of you that are not comfortable getting on camera, or you just feel like you resonate and you want to learn more about what I'm teaching, I've opened up some appointments in my calendar over the next few days to really just support you. I'm on a mission to empower you to get free from clutter in every area of your life. And so I've got some appointments on my calendar. It's a 45-minute call with me. It's almost a $500 value that I'm just giving you for being here as a part of this workshop. So take advantage of it. Click the link as soon as Jane puts it in there. Book a time that's convenient for you, but there is a limited amount of those appointments. So please click the link and make sure you get on the schedule today. Get your appointment booked. But I will support you. I'll answer any questions that you have. I'll help you create a plan that you need. Do you want me to find it, Jane, or do you still have it? I might be like,
Right, my computer seems insanely slow for some
oh, that's
reason.
okay. I can actually.
It's allowing the now.
Right? Yeah, no, totally is. I got it. I have it accessible. Okay. So this is the link to my calendar. It's in the chat. So go ahead and just click the link now, find a time that works for you, get on my schedule, let me support you. It's a $500 value for me to just provide the support to you. If you were to coach with me privately, this is a $500 value to just get 45 minutes of my time. So definitely take me up on this. You want to get on my calendar and get that support. But if nobody has any questions, then I will just move. Yeah, go ahead, Darlene. Yay, there's a question. Woo!
Yeah, you just can't have a session without a question. So we have to make sure we have one. So it was interesting doing that and let your mind go where it needs to go. Obviously, the next step is understanding why your mind went there, correct? That there obviously is.
No, the secret is you don't actually have to know why. That's what I love about what I do is you don't need to know why. You don't need to know why the clutter accumulates. You don't need to know why you hang on to something. You don't need to know why you have the limiting belief you do. You literally don't need to know why. Why is like mental masturbation. It just keeps you stuck. Trying to figure out the why of something is just, to me, it's a waste of energy. It's just, it's like, oh, I've got these piles of clutter. Okay, this is it. This is the moment. I don't need to know why. I don't need to know how. I just need to know what is so I can take action and move forward. No need to know why. Love it. That's what I love about what I do. And the great thing about this too is that if you're worried, that maybe like all these emotions are going to come flooding back and all this trauma you've experienced, you might not remember, is like going to overwhelm you. You're never given more than you can handle. Okay. When I stopped doing the practice for the 6 years and I started doing it again, I always thought that my core trauma was losing my brother to suicide and finding him. Like, I pretty much thought that was the big hairy deal because he was also one of my sexual perpetrators. So there was a lot tied into my brother committing suicide. And so I always thought that was like the core trauma. And then it took 3 years of consistent practice before what was really my core trauma got revealed to me, which was the abandonment by my mom. My mom had abandoned me repeatedly in my life over and over again. And that was what set me up to get into a relationship where I dimmed my light and I shut my light down because I didn't want to lose someone, and perpetuated that story throughout my whole life. So nothing is going to come up that you're not ready to handle. Okay. So you're not going to get flooded with all of this stuff that you're not able to deal with. So you'll only be given what you can handle. So if that's something that's going on in your mind and you're worried about what you're going to find, because we don't want to be still because it's uncomfortable. We don't want to sit with uncomfortable emotions. You're never going to be given more than you can handle. And the secret about emotions is, remember, they're emotions for a reason. They're energy in motion. So they want to stay in motion. So when you acknowledge them, like, oh, there's some sadness, or, oh, there's some anger. The lifespan of an emotion is 90 seconds to 6 minutes max. If it lasts any longer, you're in a story in your head perpetuating it. But when you can just be present with, how does it feel in my body? Where am I feeling it? And don't identify with it. You're not the emotion. It will literally move past in a very short amount of time. Doesn't mean another wave isn't going to come, because there's layers and layers and layers, but the lifespan of an emotion will last 90 seconds to 6 minutes. That's it. When you become willing to just be present with it. Okay. So you're never going to be given anything more than you can handle, and the emotions will not last forever, and they will not kill you. I promise. I've dove down to the depths of Hades and the darkest of moments in my emotions, and been able to soar with the eagles because of my willingness to be present with all of them. So you'll never be given more than you can handle. All right. So that's the core. That's the secret sauce. That's how you actually get to keep the clutter from coming back. So this is the most important piece. If you do the next part that I'm going to share with you without this piece that I'm talking to you about right now, the allowing the now, you're going to have the same problem. The clutter is going to keep coming back. Okay. So if you want the clutter to not come back, you want to keep it from coming back, it's going to require you to do this piece. But also know that the clutter's been accumulating for a while. You've been on this journey for a while. So it doesn't just stop accumulating overnight. What's going to happen, and by the way, it's 11/11, so make a wish. What's going to happen is, so say you have a table, right? And you clear the table. It's got so much clutter on it, and you clear the table. Doesn't mean you're not going to stop accumulating right away. But what's going to happen is, as you continue to raise your vibration, your tolerance for the amount of clutter shifts. So you'll let it accumulate some clutter again, but it's not going to get as bad because you don't have the tolerance for it. So your tolerance level goes down, and then you clear it sooner. And then the next time it's less and less, till eventually you keep the space clear. But it doesn't happen overnight. So just know it's not like, oh, I'm going to do this practice and I'm never going to accumulate clutter again. That's just not how it works. There's no quick fixers. There's no overnight solutions. There's no pills. Okay. This is not for the faint of heart. It does require your consistent effort, and know that it's a process. It just doesn't stop accumulating overnight. Okay. So who would like to learn actually what to do with the physical clutter? What do you actually do with the stuff? Where do you get started? How do you get started? Awesome. All right. Well, that's the next part about what I want to share. Now you know the truth about clutter. You know that the outside is only a mirror of the inside. All clutter accumulates because of your unwillingness to look at it. And so the only requirement to get free from clutter in every area of your life is your presence. And you do that through allowing the now. Now, what I want to share with you about what I'm about to tell you about is that this step-by-step process that I developed as a result of getting through my own clutter came as a result of the allowing the now practice. So what I want to say is, I'm not attached to you doing it my way. This is just the steps that I found that help take the overwhelm and the stress out of getting organized. Take what works, leave the rest. But just like me, When you start doing the allowing the now practice consistently, and you start spontaneously going through your own stuff, you're not going to need a system. You're just going to figure it out on your own. You're going to find out what works for you. Now, I've got some tips and pointers that will really be supportive, but there's no hard, fast rules. Okay. So what I want to share with you is it's called the 7 steps to manage, overwhelm, and organize any space. Okay. And so I'm going to list the 7 steps, then I'll go into them one by one, and then I'll recap them for you. Okay. So step 1 is preparation. Step 2 is like with like. Step 3 is fresh start. Step 4 is decision time. Step 5 is homeward bound. Step 6 is finish the loose ends. And step 7 is to form the habit. Okay, so based on what we've talked about so far, what do you think one of the first things in preparing to get organized is? Allowing the now. That's part 1. Okay, so you want to start any session that you're going to do with, you don't have to do a full 5 minutes, just take a couple minutes to just get present and allow the moment to be exactly as it is. So step 1 in preparing to get organized is to allow the now, and then you're going to choose an area to work on. Now, in choosing an area to work on, most people want to take the whole closet or the whole garage or the whole pantry. I'm going to tackle it all at once. My suggestion is not to do that. My motto is to take 1 square foot at a time. You're literally just going to do 1 square foot at a time and use this process and get through a square foot and then move on to the next square foot and then move on to the next square foot. I highly recommend you don't tackle like Marie Kondo and says, go get all your clothes from the entire house and put them in a big pile in front of you. I don't know about you, but that's overwhelming to me. Just the thought of that is overwhelming to me. But if you break it down into square foot by square foot, once you get 1 square foot done, which doesn't take long once you actually do it, you have completion energy. And then what else you have after that is you have a square foot of space that you didn't have. And so you actually get to see results. Whereas if you're tackling the whole closet and you pull everything out on the bed and you're like one by one going through things, you don't see any progress. And you feel, it feels daunting and it gets exhausting. And I'm just like, how do you go on? And then what do you do with all this stuff, right? So you start with 1 square foot at a time. And what I like to have my people do is, my clients do is, pick a room that's your priority. Okay. And the way that I address a room is I like to deal with anything that's on the floor first, then deal with what's on the surfaces, and then deal with what's behind the doors and in the drawers. So you want to deal with all the visual first, but you want to deal with the floor first. So you actually can have a place to walk in. And that'll be your first surface that you can use to sort things because you can just sit on the floor. Okay. So when you walk in the door, decide whether you're going to go right or left and handle that first square foot on the floor. Whatever's in that first square foot, deal with that. Okay. So in choosing an area, choose your room, choose your priority, choose your first square foot. And then what you're going to do is gather all the supplies that you're going to need. So you're going to need containment. You've got donation, you've got trash, you've got recycle, and you may have shredding. So you're going to need containment for those things. But what you're also going to need is anything you need to clean up the area. Like if it's a surface, you want to be able to wipe down the surface. If there's a box that's been sitting on the floor for months or years, you want to be able to vacuum under the box when you're done, whatever you're going to need to clean. So that's everything you need to do to prepare to get organized. So allowing the now, choosing your square foot, and gathering all the needed supplies. Okay. So once you've prepared to get organized, the next step is what I call like with like. So the tendency is to take whatever you're working on and throw it in a big pile. If it's a box, dump it out in front of you, whatever it is. I highly recommend you don't do that. That's my strong recommendation. Do whatever you want, see how it works out for you. But literally say you got a box, so you got a small surface, you're doing a square foot on a coffee table or whatever. You're literally going to take one item at a time, or the same, like if you have a bunch of paper clips, you can grab all the paper clips. If it's a bunch of pens, you can grab a bunch of the same items, and you want to sort them into general categories. The key is super general. Okay. I like to sort by room. You can sort by use, whatever makes sense for you. For me, room is easier. This goes in the kitchen. This is the bathroom. This is the bedroom. This is the dining room. This goes in the closet. Sorting it out into super general categories just to get everything out of the box or off the surface in an orderly fashion. Okay, so you're literally sorting like a robot. It's robotic. You're not making any decisions about what you're going to keep and what you're going to let go of right now. You're going to just sort into general categories. And the reason why you don't want to combine the decision-making processes, you guys have heard of decision fatigue, right? Well, if you start pulling this out, oh, am I going to keep this or am I going to let this go? You're going to start getting overwhelmed and you're going to start getting frustrated and you're not going to want to do it anymore. So you don't want to make any decisions about what you're keeping or letting go in this sorting process. There's one exception to the rule. If you have some trash, literally pieces of trash, you don't need to sort the trash. You could put that in the trash bin. Okay. That's not a decision. That's just, it's already trash. You know, it's going in the trash. Okay. So get everything sorted into general categories. So say you have this general category of office supplies. You don't have to separate all the paper clips and the pens yet. Just get it into a pile. When we get to that category later, you can do a more detailed sorting then. But the idea is just to get everything removed right now in an orderly fashion. And what this is going to do is, one, it's going to give you a visual of what you have. So it's going to be easier for you to make decisions. But number two, if you get tired, if you get overwhelmed, or you get interrupted, some emergency happens, the kids or whatever, you literally can contain each category in a bag or whatever and put it back neatly and come back and start all over again, rather than throwing it all back and having it be a mess and worse than when you started. So this allows you to get a visual of what you really have to make it easier to make decisions, and then have you be able to contain it if you need to, if you got interrupted and you weren't able to finish. So you're not making it worse than when you started. Okay. So once you get like with like, the next step is fresh start. And fresh start serves two purposes, because we have two decision-making processes in this step-by-step process. So you have deciding what category something is, and then we're going to be making the decision, does it stay or does it go? So right in the middle, I have this step called fresh start, which is literally a mental break from one decision-making process to the next. But it's also a time to clean up, wipe down the surface, just create clear, clean space to put anything back. I've worked with so many clients that will like clear off a bookcase and they don't even want to wipe it down and have a nice clean spot for things to go back to. So you just want to take a moment, clean up whatever needs to be cleaned up, take that mental break from the decision-making process, and also give yourself a moment to like celebrate what you've done so far. Like look at your progress, like, wow, like I'm doing this. I've got this all sorted out. I've gotten this far. Now you're going to be able to do the next step much easier. Okay. So fresh start is that mental break. It's taking a break from one decision-making process to the next and just creating that nice, clean, clear space to put anything back on that's going to go back, if it's a surface or, you know, whatever it is. If it's a box, you get to break down the box if you don't need it anymore and put it in the recycle. That's your cleanup. Okay. If you need to vacuum the floor underneath it, that's your cleanup. But it's just a break between two decision-making processes and just time to really appreciate what you've done and just create clean, clear space. Okay. So after step 3, fresh start, we move on to number 4, step 4, decision time. It is in the middle of the 7 steps for a reason. It's our favorite step, making those decisions, right? About what we're keeping and what we're letting go. So what I highly recommend in this practice is you've got all these categories now in front of you, right? And so what I like to recommend is always starting with what's easiest first. So looking at your categories, what's the easiest for you to make decisions about, right? Just pick a category that's easy for you to make decisions about. If it's a big category like office supplies, just take some time to sort it out and, you know, finer sort it, all the pens, the pencils, the highlighters, the clips, whatever your categories are, do a more specific sort so that you can address each category. Deal with one item at a time. So you pick one item at a time. And first question is, am I keeping it or letting it go? Okay. What I want you to know is it's not about what you keep or what you let go. It's most important for you to make a decision. I'm not attached to what you keep and what you let go of, because you're only going to let go of what you're ready to when you're ready to. And it requires that you look at your stuff over and over again for you to let things go. So if you're looking at something for more than 3 to 5 seconds and you haven't decided, you're keeping it for now. Okay. No judgment. It's not about what you keep and what you let go of. It's about your willingness to look and make a decision. So one item at a time. Am I keeping this or am I letting it go? If you're keeping it, it goes into the keep pile next to the pile you're working on. This will be your pile of keep for this particular category. If you've decided you're letting it go, can it be used again? If it has any use, it's not your job to figure out who and how and what. If it has any use, you donate it. Even old shoes that still have tread, there's people that don't have shoes, they will buy used shoes. So even if it has a little bit of use, just donate it and let the donation center figure it out. Your only job is to let it go, okay? So if it can be used, donate it. If it can't be used, is it recyclable? Does it need to go in the trash, or do I need to shred it? Those are the decisions you're making, and that's it, okay? One item at a time, and you want to complete one category at a time. Don't pick one item up from one category and then, oh, I'm going to go over to this category, and oh, I'm going to go to this category. Because what we want to do is we want to finish one category at a time. We want to see the space, we want to see the amount shrink, and we want the completion energy, okay? We want to finish what we start. How many of us have trouble finishing what we start? Start projects, don't finish them. Yeah, so this is going to help with that completion energy, completing what you start. So one category at a time, one item at a time. When you're done with that category, then move on to the next one, sticking with just working on what's easiest first and working your way up to the things that are harder for you to make decisions about, okay? And remember, 3 to 5 seconds, if you're still looking at it, you're keeping it for now. There's no judgment. It's all about your willingness to actually look at the stuff, okay? So one category at a time till you get through all the categories. Now, here's the best part. Just because you're willing to look at the stuff, just your willingness alone to look at the stuff that's in this square foot, your willingness to look and make decisions, on average, you will let go of 30 to 60% without trying. 30 to 60% without trying on average. Some people a lot more, some people less, but more than likely it's usually 30 to 60% without trying. So you're going to create all of this space just by your willingness to look at what's there. Okay. So once you've gotten through all the categories, now it's like, holy shit, look at that. I just made all those decisions. Look at how much that shrunk by, right? Now it's time for step 5, which is homeward bound. It's getting those things put away. All right. So putting things away, first and foremost, again, do what's easy first. What has homes already that you know where it goes? Now, do not worry that wherever you're putting it needs to be decluttered and organized. You can only do 1 square foot at a time. So you're not going to go put something away over here and start tearing that cabinet out and then go start putting something away over here and start tearing that apart. You just want to, rule of thumb is get like with like in your entire house, so that when you get to that area and it's time for you to do that room, you'll have all the like with like and you'll be able to address it there. And each time you look at something, you'll let go of more and more. So put things away that you know where they go first, and don't worry about the fact that it's cluttered, it's not organized yet. Just get like with like. Even if you can only get it into the room that it belongs into, that's a start. So just meet yourself where you are, meet your space where it is, and just get things put away as best as you can with other like items. And then addressing the stuff that you're not so sure of. This is where you just get to get present for your own experience, allowing the now. What do I use it for? What is this item? What do I use it for? Where are other like items in my house? Where would it make sense for it to live? And is it something that I need to access all the time, so it needs to be easy to get out? Or is it something I only need once or twice a year that can be up and out of the way and I don't need to access it as much? But ultimately, it's you getting present with your stuff and figuring it out. So all of those magazines and books that have all these great systems and all of that stuff in them, they're not for your space and they're not for your stuff. So they're never going to work. You get to figure out your own solutions based on your own stuff, your own furniture, because each one of yours, you could have the same exact cookie cutter house, but you're all going to have different furniture and you're all going to have different stuff. So you get to figure out what works for you, and know that it's trial and error. It's playing with, it's dynamic. You may put something away and be like, when you go to take it out, you're like, oh, yeah, I kind of use that a little bit more. Maybe that doesn't really make sense. Like I remember when I was setting up my desk one time, I'm right-handed, but for some reason I put the stapler on the left hand of my desk. So every time I needed the stapler, I like reach across my desk. Well, that didn't make a lot of sense. So I put it on the right side of my desk, like little things like that. So just know that it's trial and error, it's dynamic, and it can change. You can put something somewhere and it works for a while, and maybe things change and you need to move things around and it needs to go in a different way. So just know that it's for your space and you get to figure out what works for you. So step 5, homeward bound, is getting everything put away. And then we're ready for step 6, which is to finish the loose ends. How many of you have, decided you're going to donate a bunch of stuff, but it just sits in the garage and it never gets to the donation place? Oh, I donated all this, I let it all go, but yet it's sitting in the garage or sitting in the closet, right? Okay, so first and foremost, you actually get to get rid of the donations. They are not donated until they get to the donation place. Okay, so I don't know about where you guys live, but where I live, there's tons of nonprofits. There's lots of places that receive donations. It just depends on which direction I'm driving as to where I'm going that time. So make it simple. Find your closest donation center, nonprofit, whatever. Don't make it complicated. Oh, this needs to go to this, and this needs to go to this, and this needs to go to this. Your job is to let go and just trust that whatever you want to call it, God, source, universe, whatever you call it, is going to get the items to the people who need them. It's not your job to figure all that out. Your only job is to let it go so that you can make the space in your life for the magic to happen. The more you open up, the more you let go of stuff, the more space you create. And even the Clutter Expert is constantly purging. Like I always have a bag in my closet, and I actually just got a new bookcase the other day, which triggered me going through like every drawer and everything in my small little room that I rent that's like 700 square feet. And I took a truckload of stuff to donation. And just the other day I had bought, my whole body has changed. So I bought a bunch of new clothes and upgraded my wardrobe. And I took 3 bags of clothes to donation. Okay. So like, I always take it, and there's always letting stuff go. So I always have a bag going in the closet. But you want to make sure that you actually get the items out of your house to donation. So if you're working on this, if you've decided, okay, I'm going to work on this like 15 minutes or 30 minutes, 3 times a week or whatever, you can go once a week. You don't have to go like every time, or just go when you have enough. But if you're only doing this like once a week, go get the donations out of your house. Go just take the trip on your way to the grocery store, on your way to your hair appointment. Just find a place on your way and just drop them off. It's super simple. It's super easy. Get them out and really get them donated. Okay. So most important is the donation stuff. People have the tendency to be like, oh, I let this go, but it's in the closet or it's in the garage. It's not gone until you really let it go. Okay. So it doesn't count until the donation center receives it. Okay. Then it's dealing with trash, recycle, and shredding. Okay. If you have a ton of shredding, and you don't want to burn your shredder out, there's plenty of companies. If you need them to shred it in front of you, you can hire them to come to your door and shred in front of you, or you can take it to places to shred, or they can just come pick it up and not have to shred it in front of you. But there's many options to get your shredding taken care of if you don't want to sit there and burn your shredder out yourself, if it's a ton. If it's not a ton, like, get it done. It'll take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe 20 to shred whatever you have, but a square foot, more than likely, it's not going to take you, if you're going square foot by square foot, it's not going to take you that long to shred what you've come up with. So deal with your shredding, take your recycle and your trash out, handle all the donations, and you finished up the loose ends. And once you've done that, you have successfully decluttered an area. Now, the only caveat is if you're going to keep working, like you've done 1 square foot, and you've put everything away and you're going to keep working, you don't have to deal with the loose ends. You finish the loose ends at the very end of when you're done. Say you want to do 3 square feet. Once you're done with this 3 square feet, then you'll finish the loose ends and take care of all of that. You don't want to do it after every square foot. So Just one little caveat of that. So once you finish up all the loose ends, the next thing is to form the habit. Now you're probably going to hear me say, you probably think I'm going to say, oh yeah, schedule 15 minutes a week and work on your clutter, da, 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 da. What I'd rather have you form the habit on is doing your allowing the now practice for 5 minutes a day. Because if you do allowing the now for 5 minutes a day, you're not going to have to schedule time to do this. It's going to happen spontaneously when you're ready. And there'll be no forcing it. There'll be no dragging yourself to do it. So if you get consistent and form the habit with the allowing the now practice, that's where everything's going to come from. I didn't come to classes like this looking for help on how to get organized. I wasn't hiring an organizer. I just became willing to be present for my own experience and look at the inner clutter that had been accumulating. And as a result of doing that, I spontaneously went from the cluttered mess to someone who actually loves creating order out of chaos. And that's possible for you too. So for those of you that are like, I don't have the organizing gene, right? Just remember the power that created order out of the Big Bang, the most chaotic thing that ever happened, formed planets and universes and plants and people, humans and all of that stuff, lives inside of you. The only thing that's happened is there's interference with that power from the clutter that's accumulated. So when you begin to remove the interference, your natural ability to create order around you comes out. So there's not a single one of you that is missing an organizing gene. There's just interference with the power that creates order out of universes in yourself. And that's it. That's like the secret sauce. So there is no, I don't have the organizing gene. There's just interference between you and the power that created order out of the Big Bang that's already inside of you. So it's like the light that gets all the muck and the grime and the dirt all over it. We need to get all the muck and the mud and the dirt so the light can shine. That's removing the inner clutter. And the more you do that, the more the light shines. And it's just an innate ability to create order. We all have it. When you're out of balance and you can't create order, it just means there's interference. So form the habit of the allowing the now practice, and the rest will take care of itself. But if you're someone who needs a plan and needs to like form the habit on this piece, my recommendation is starting with like 15 minutes once a week. When you hit that goal and you're showing up for yourself, like put it in your calendar like you would a hair appointment or a doctor's appointment and treat it with the same level of importance. When you're showing up for that appointment once a week and that feels good, then add another day, not 15 to 30 minutes. You don't need to like go crazy. Like this didn't accumulate overnight. You're not going to like spend hours and hours and hours. Just start doing it a little bit at a time. 15 to 30 minutes once a week, hitting that, showing up. And then next, add another day and another day and another day. So clutter is always accumulating in our lives. Mail is coming in. We're going to the grocery store. We're buying stuff. Amazon loves us. You know, you're constantly accumulating, right? So my other motto is to always be purging, ABP, always be purging, because we're never not accumulating. That's why I have a bag in my closet at all times. I'm always putting stuff in every time I do laundry, I'm letting something go, because every time I put my laundry, I was like, oh, I'm not wearing that anymore. You can go create more space or whatever it is. So always be purging, just let it happen naturally, and do the allowing the now, and the rest will take care of itself. You won't have to force it. So 15 to 30 minutes once a week, hit that, then add 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, till you're doing it 5 days a week. If you want to do 7, great. But just know that it's going to happen from the inside out. You don't have to force it if you get consistent with the allowing the now practice. And if you want the clutter to not come back like it has been for you guys in the past, it has to start from the inside out, because the outside is only a mirror of the inside. All right, well, so the 7 steps to manage overwhelm are preparation, like with like, fresh start, decision time, finish the loose ends, and form the habit. All right, so those are the steps, and we have a few minutes left. I'll open it up for questions if you have any questions about anything that I've covered so far. And if not, you get an extra 20 minutes to your day to go enjoy and have some space in your day.
I have to say, wow, even though I've heard a lot of Mel's presentations before, it's always a good refresher. And I think we all appreciate those 7 steps.
Yes.
right? Learned a lot. Does anyone have a question?
Yeah, and again, go ahead, Marguerite, and then Sue.
Yeah, so Mel, for me, it's magazines, paper, but magazines, like I've got this hang up, like, I don't know what it is. It's like, I think that if I don't, it's FOMO, oh, that's a good article, I'll get to it eventually. Like, yeah, I mean, and I just, in my purge, I did get rid of a lot of stuff. But it's there, it's that kind of unwillingness to let stuff go like that.
Yeah.
Thinking that it's, I'll need to know it.
Yeah, I know. You just with time, with the allowing the now practice, you get more and more honest. It's like, am I really going to read this? And then you're willing to let it go. But also know that as you keep accumulating these articles, you're literally adding pressure to yourself. It's like every article, like you feel like you have to read it. And that's emotional clutter. And it's like energetic clutter. And it's literally stealing your life force. So if you ever need to finally, like, the world of information is at our fingertips. Like we can figure out anything on Google. So if you ever want to look at anything, you just Google it and you'll be able to find articles in that moment that you want to read rather than, oh, that looks like a really good article, I should read that someday. And then it goes into a pile. And then you've automatically put this pressure on yourself. Now I've got to read it. There's this got to, have to energy rather than, oh, this is fun. Like it automatically puts this pressure, which adds emotional clutter, which then literally is stealing your life force. But what's going to happen is the more and more you do allowing the now, the more willing you'll be able to let that stuff go and the less you'll start accumulating. Doesn't mean it'll stop overnight, but I literally, as emails come in, because I'm not a magazine person, I don't have magazines come, but like when articles come in from different, it's like, oh, that looks like an interesting article, but I'm not really going to read it. Bye-bye. But then there's some that's like, no, I really want to read that and I'll read it and then I'll be done with it and then it's gone. But that discernment and that shift will start to happen the more and more you do allowing the now.
Do you want to say something about emails? Do you want to give us a hint on how to clear out emails and get rid of all this accumulation?
Highly recommend anything that's more than 30 days old. You're not going to look at it, delete it, start there. That'll get rid of a lot of the clutter. And then I start from the bottom up. Well, first I go through and get rid of anything that I'm not going to read. I do the decluttering first. And then I start from the bottom up dealing, because my oldest is on the bottom. So it depends on your email server. Whatever's on the bottom, I start and work my way up to the top. I can't handle having more than 50 emails in my inbox. So that's my limit. And I start getting overwhelmed. But there is also a subscription service that I pay to use. I don't make anything on it. It's not an affiliate thing or anything like that, but there's a thing called SaneBox, SANEBOX. I pay $7 a month for the lunch box version or whatever. And what it does is you get to choose a couple folders. There's one called Sane Later, and it automatically gives you Sane No Reply. Like if you sent an email that's waiting for a reply, it puts it in this folder. I get rid of that one and I change it and I take what's called Sane Black Hole. It acts kind of like a spam, only you don't get notified that there's any emails in there. And it's something you can train. So it automatically will take all your subscription emails and it will put them into Sane Later. And then whatever you tell it to go into the black hole, it goes into the black hole and you never see it again. And so you want to go in and just delete them all. But it removes the superfluous stuff from your inbox so that you're only dealing with what you really need to deal with. And most of the time when I go into my Sane Later folder, there's maybe 3 or 4 emails in there that I actually want to read, and I get to select all and delete them, except for the few. So I'll select all, uncheck the very few that I actually want to keep, delete them. And then some of them you can train it. So if there's something that wound up in Sane Later that I want in my inbox, I literally drag it to my inbox and it teaches it to come to my inbox. And if it's like something that goes in my Sane Later that I never want to see again, I drag it to Sane Black Hole and it goes into the black hole. So if you're someone who has a ton of subscriptions, but you know how much time it takes to freaking unsubscribe from all the email lists, pain in the ass, right? Well, here's a little secret. Number one, if you stay on their email list and you don't open their emails, they still have to pay for you because they have to pay to have you on their email list. So don't waste your time unsubscribing. Let them keep paying for you until they decide to delete you, and just send it to the black hole and you never have to see it again. And you don't have to waste your time unsubscribing and taking your energy out of it. And then every once in a while, you go look in your Sane Black Hole folder, select all and delete. And it feels so freaking amazing. So
Great,
SaneBox
thank
is
you.
what a paid service that I use that helps. So it literally just keeps my important emails in my inbox. It takes all my subscription emails and moves them into Sane later. So they're not clogging up my inbox, and I know they're not important, and they don't show up in my inbox count. They have a separate folder. It'll tell me how many are in there. And the great thing about it is if you're like out of sight, out of mind, like me, something goes out of sight, it's out of my mind. SaneBox will send you an email. There's so many emails in your Sane later folder. Go check them out. It'll remind you to check it once a day. So if you're worried about you might be missing out on something, FOMO, it will tell you to go check. You start to get in the habit of checking. It's just when I'm on my computer, I see it. You don't really see it on the mobile version. But when I'm on my computer, I can see how many emails are in there. And every once in a while, I just go check it, make sure there's nothing important, and get rid of everything. And it feels so good to just like select all and delete. It's like my favorite thing to do.
Great. Thanks so much. That's terrific.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to help. So
I love how you were talking about it being in the sane, box, but the wording was insane. And I'm like, yeah, it feels insane to me with how much email I have.
Yeah. And we get so much subscription email because we sign up. Once you sign up for something, you're on someone's list, and you listen to a summit, and you download all the free gifts. And it's like, now you're getting all these emails from 50 different people. And it's like, I don't want to see your emails. I just wanted your free gift. And that was it. And now I'll move you to Satan black hole so I don't have to unsubscribe.
And how many people don't want to unsubscribe because they feel like they're going to be offending the person because they knew them in the first place when they joined?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm liking this idea. I've never heard of Satan box, so thank you for that.
Yeah, I love it. It's been such a lifesaver. It's given me my sanity back.
Any other questions?
Stu, I think you had your hand up.
I was going to ask about the email. So
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So again, my link is in the chat. I'm offering a free coaching call with me to get your support. It's a $500 value. Just click, it's a 45-minute call. Click the link, book a time to speak with me over the next few days. I've opened up some time in my calendar because I want to serve you. I want to support you. So make sure you get on my calendar, click the link right now. You can also, the 3 little dots on the chat, you can save the chat. So save the chat so you have the link. You can literally just click on the link. It will open you to the page. So if you can't schedule right now, just get the link open and take advantage of booking a time to speak with me so I can support you and get your questions answered. I'm absolutely here for you. I'm on a mission to empower people around the world to get free from clutter inside and out so they can experience their birthright, which is to thrive in every area of their life. So it is your birthright to thrive in every area of your life. And if you're not, if there's even one area that's not thriving, there's clutter. And it doesn't have to be physical clutter. Those are just external manifestations of an internal condition. So let's get the root of the clutter clear so that you can thrive in every area of your life. It's absolutely possible for you to be thriving in every area of your life. All right. Anybody else have any questions before you get about 14 minutes back to your day?
I think that was tremendous value. And if any of you have not yet booked the appointment, please do so, because I think once you take the time to decompress from this, a question might come out later. Maybe you didn't want to ask in front of all of us, and that's fine too. And perhaps, of course, when you're doing your allowing the now session for yourself, then that's when the question will pop into your head that you want to ask Mel. Or
Dr. Stacy booked and Darlene's booked already. So awesome. Perfect. Glad you guys are action takers, taking action. Yes. Don't want to procrastinate on this offer. The spots will not last because the replay goes out as well. So everybody that's going to get the replay is going to have this link. So you want to make sure to get on my calendar because once the spots are gone, they're gone. So
that's right. We didn't want this to be one more thing on your to-do list to do later. So we keep suggesting doing it now. So thank you to those of you that are. If I may, actually, instead of having you all hop off immediately, if there are no other questions, what I was going to ask is, for the sake of Mel especially, we would love testimonials. So if you have something that you could share as your biggest takeaway from today's session, I would love to spotlight you. Is there somebody that has something they'd like to share? Yep. Okay, so then Dr. Stacy, if you could please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Mel, you've just brought so much clarity to decluttering, and not just, thinking about the task of doing it, but the different perspective and taking the time to be present with the now is really a different perspective that I've never considered, never heard of. So thank you so much for opening that up for me. That is truly a game changer.
Love that, Dr. Stacy. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Dr. Stacy. Anybody else? Yep, Darlene. Okay, go ahead.
I will. Hey, Mel, allowing the now is not something I really thought about the way you explained it, right? We talk about living in the present, but allowing the now, and how simple you made it with 5 minutes a day. You really put it in perspective. What's inside shows up in many different parts of the outside. The 7 steps were very clear. So, and a great system to go through. And I love how it's where there's not right or wrong. It's what works best for you. It's figuring it out. And you've made it very simple in that. Let's start with 1 square foot. Being in real estate, I love that. I was like, great, got that. And, you know, it's how do you eat the elephant? You've explained to us how to deal with the clutter 1 part at a time. And even to the point of, hey, let's start with 1 thing and then it'll get better afterwards. So thank you very much for all your great clarity.
Thank you for that, Darlene. Yes, I'm picturing you talking to people that are selling their home, and you see how much excess they might have, and that you could refer them to Mel.
There's a lot of them out there that certainly needs Mel's help. Oh, yes.
So for sure. Thank you. Okay, Marguerite, go ahead.
Yeah, I loved it, Mel. And add to what everyone else said, I think the understanding the psychological and emotional aspect of clutter is so fundamental. I love the 7 steps. And I think the whole business of incrementalism, you know, I think you made us feel that we all have these problems. We all accumulate too much. We all have clutter. It's like, do it a little bit at a time and be kind to yourself and make it a habit that becomes fun, you know? Thank you. It's a great, great piece. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Marguerite. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Sue, did you have your hand up as well?
Yeah, I was just going to say it was fabulous. Just really understanding the, being in the now. It was just, oh gosh, I get it. It's just, it was really great to get present to what was going on when I just took that time, just those few minutes. And there was a lot going on around here. And it's just like, get out of here. I want to be now, right? It's going on now. And relating that to the clutter. It makes so much sense. And especially the 7-step process and doing it 1 square foot at a time, I can manage that. And I like the suggestions for the email too, because it drives me crazy. Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Yeah, many of you know that I'm moving again soon, and so that's when I know I do real estate investing, so I freak out those of you that don't like the idea of moving soon. I only moved here less than 5 months ago, 6 months ago, but I purged before I got here, and to me that was one of the many ways that it helped. I mean, that became my system. Is keep things neat and tidy. Don't let them clutter again. Some things never got unpacked because this time I knew it was a shorter term. And quite frankly, I bought more furniture because this was a bigger home and was using it, but also staging it for the sale. So this was, to me, perfect timing. I believe in timing. So I love the timing of today's event, Mel, because it's kind of like, okay, I'm sure there's still more purging to do because of what I accumulated in the last 6 months. And I'll also fully admit I'm the one that I'm going to word it as love. I seem to love to put a lot in my schedule. How much I do and how many things I add to my schedule is something to still explore decluttering.
I challenge you to schedule you in your schedule.
Thank you. I will admit, I do have a lot of me in there, especially my mornings. No one's allowed to touch my mornings, but yes, I do appreciate that. And I thank you for that because yes, I could allow more for me.
Yeah, you absolutely can. Like when I was in the relationship and I wasn't taking any time for myself and I just started with 5 minutes, there was like never any time for myself. Now I'm into indoor rock climbing, and it's the closest gym to me is over an hour away. So it's a 4-hour round trip for me to go rock climbing. And I make the time to go 2 to 3 times a week, as well as stay on top of my marathon training and run my business and have my morning routine. The more space you make for yourself, the more space opens up.
It's funny how as entrepreneurs, we tend to think we just got to keep doing. Yeah. And this week I've actually made time for myself. I'm going for a facial tomorrow, and I'm going, I feel guilty. I feel guilty, but I'm going, no, that's why I work from home. So I can do it when I want to. 100%. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, my recent real estate move, which is almost firm, puts me by the ocean. So it's the work in progress to get me exactly where I want to be. So, awesome. And it's much smaller square footage where I'll be. So guess what? I can't accumulate and won't. So with that, if there are any last questions, this is literally last call for questions. Nothing else is popping into your minds?
No, but again, I've dropped the link in the chat. If you haven't already booked, go ahead and click that link right now. Get on the calendar. I know 3 of you have. Margarita, I saw that you got on there. So great. Any of you else that have not got on there, get on the calendar before the appointments fill up. There is definitely a limited number of spots, and the replay is going out. So not sure how many people that's going out to. So you'll want to book now before they fill up, because it is on a first come, first serve basis. So I'm here to support you. It's a $500 value to get on a 45-minute call with me. So make sure you take advantage of that and get your questions answered. Just come and get support, whatever you need.
Yep. For those of you that are here with us live, the recording will be available in a few business days, and we will send that to you by email. The emails always come from Selling on the Spot. So please don't look for it from Mel. It's coming from my company, Selling on the Spot. And thank you for your patience on that. For those of you watching the recording, yes, please take advantage of Mel's offer for the free consultation and book that right away. As soon as you're watching, don't procrastinate, right? As soon as you get that email, keep that email, act on that email, listen to the full 2 hours, book the appointment in Mel's calendar. So with that, Mel, again, thank you so much. I appreciate all that you do for your community and of course the Selling on the Spot community. I again learned from you today. I look forward to putting it into practice for myself and for Selling on the Spot as well. So thank you for today's presentation.
Oh, thank you again so much for having me. I love doing this with you. And again, if you have never been to one of Jane's events, you must attend one of the Selling on the Spot marketplaces. It's so different than attending a networking event and just trying to pitch what you do and hope someone comes and works with you. Actually get to make offers and make sales in the marketplace. So highly recommend it. It's like a whole new way to do business. So people are expecting you to make offers. They're expecting to take action on them. So check out one of her events. It's not something you want to miss. And check out one of her other pillars that she does in her pro. She has so many things that she offers, especially when she does the Meteor Mastery with Forbes Riley and all the amazing things that she offers. So just get into her community, take advantage of what she has to offer. Her and I have an amazing connection. I just love working with her. So again, Jane, thank you so much for having me and looking forward to doing this again in the future.
Awesome. Thank you for that as well. So with that, I appreciate you all being here. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you at another amazing Selling on the Spot event. Take care.
Awesome.